When you think of the Hatfields and the McCoys, do you think, hey, man, escalating a feud between neighbors is what works toward a good resolution? Or do you think to yourself, wow, the tug fork of the Big Sandy River led to a lot of people dying, a whole lot of trouble, and decades of problems. That's what really we're looking at with our border with Mexico, which the president continues to escalate due to his campaign promises, preying on the fears of people. Not to say that there isn't a problem of human trafficking and drugs and whatnot, but we have much bigger issues than demonizing our neighbors from the South and asylum seekers from Central America. Look at my video from the other night where I was up against former Border Patrol Chief Mark Morgan and called him out for his, what I call deceitful statements about the asylum seekers, which he called me a liar. And of course, I had the facts right because that's what I do. But the president the other day threatened to completely shut down our border with Mexico. I, of course, mocked that. That's just dumb. That's to cut off your nose to spite your face. $600 billion of commerce between the United States and Mexico every year that come across the borders, reports of entry. And you do that, you devastate the Mexican economy, you damage the American economy. And I pointed out that actually, and people, of course, on the right were making fun of avocados. Oh, the avocados. Well, here's the deal. We do import a lot of avocados, but our number one import from Mexico is cars and car parts for our automotive industry. And that's what I pointed out. You want to talk about damaging our economy. Oh, you want like manufacturing in the United States, do you, President Trump? Well, go ahead and close that border. Well, it just came out a short time ago. He's not going to immediately and fully close the border with Mexico. But take a listen to his announcement. This just happened.
We need help from Mexico. If Mexico doesn't give the help, that's okay. We're going to tariff their cars coming into the United States. The other thing is because Mexico is such a big source of drugs. Unfortunately, now we have China sending fentanyl to Mexico so it can be delivered into the United States. It's not acceptable. So the second aspect of it is, which you haven't heard before, is that if the drugs don't stop, Mexico can stop them if they want. We're going to tariff the cars. The cars are very big. And if that doesn't work, we're going to close the border.
So there are a couple of key problems with what the president just said, very specifically to what he just said. One is tariff the cars, their cars, he called them. They're not their cars. They're actually, it's Ford, it's General Motors, it's other car manufacturers and car part companies that rely on the maquiladoras along the border. And in this case, we already have General Motors who just shut down the Lordstown plant, or at least announced it. Let's further damage the U.S. car manufacturing businesses. That just doesn't seem right to me at all. And so that's a fact number one. Fact number two, he talks about they can just shut down the drugs anytime they want. Well, Mr. President, you seem to lack the awareness that the cartels are the ones in charge in huge swaths of Mexico right now because of our appetite for the drugs, our failed nearly 50-year experiment of this drug war. If it was so easy, Mr. President, why do we have drugs in the United States? It's not easy. It's not readily available for the Mexican government just to shut it down. You're setting them up for failure. This is a terrible, terrible, terrible idea. What we need to be doing is legalizing as much as possible, have massive education campaigns about how ridiculously bad drugs are. We need to be doing a better job of addressing mental health and the underlying reasons why people are even using these drugs in the first place, which was entirely lost in our war on drugs. Furthermore, we need to be doing more to help the Central American economy so we don't have the asylum seekers coming this way. And furthermore, again, we have a problem of your demonizing of the other, Mr. President. I have other episodes that get into the other. Stop othering. Stop making other people bad. This is not on the back of Mexico. If we didn't have the demand, I thought you were somebody who understood business and markets, Mr. President. If we weren't so hungry for those drugs, so thirsty for those drugs, the cartels aren't sending it our way. By making it illegal, by creating a black market, you've enabled the cartels and this bad stuff to happen, Mr. President. So let's fix that. And one of the key things that needs to come out of this, by the way, when you talk about shutting down the border that I'm totally against, that has not happened, is we need to have functioning work visa programs. We actually have a worker shortage in the United States now. Finally, after President Obama helped our country recover from the Great Recession, which President Trump has enjoyed the continuance thereof, and the tax cuts have actually not hurt it, other than our federal budget deficits have been hurt pretty tremendously. For example, we just have this huge story out of North Texas. And this is always the joke when people point at California when they talk about immigration. I lived in Texas. I met my wife in Texas. I love Texas. Texas is just, it's a great state. Such a wonderful place. I always have a warm feeling for Texas. I do. I love so much about Texas. So many great people in the state of Texas. But everybody seems to forget that President Bush, as governor of Texas, sure loved helping big business and turn a blind eye to all the immigration, all the people who are coming to work in the United States without proper documentation. Business loves that. They don't have to pay proper wages. They don't have to follow health and safety laws because you're illegal. I know it. You know it. If you're going to claim, oh, I didn't pay you, you're not getting whatever, I'll just turn you into ICE. Well, yesterday, ICE made the biggest raid in 10 years, apparently, in Allen, which is a northern suburb of Dallas, the Metroplex, Dallas-Fort Worth. More than 280 people were arrested in a company there. The company, according to ICE officials, was turning a blind eye. They knew that they were hiring people who didn't belong in the United States. Have a functioning work visa program. It's so easy. We don't right now. We make it too hard. Our work visa programs make it too hard for low-skilled workers to come to the United States and work. So let's make it easier. You know, a simple form, a fee. We need a fingerprint. We need a retinal scan, whatever. You're going to have to pay $250. They get a year. Every year they get renewed. Make sure that everything's being done right. It's really not that hard. We just need to do it. And then we remove the cartels, the coyotes, from that trafficking of people across the border. What a concept. And by the way, we need to do something about it. All you have to do is Google right now, worker shortage. Click the little news tab. Look at all this. Worker shortage in Wisconsin. That's the number one headline. Number two, U.S. is experiencing a widespread worker shortage. So don't give me this, we need to shut down the border and not have these people come here. No, we just need to have a functioning work visa program. Most of them just want to come here and work. The people fleeing Central America are trying to flee violence. They're actually asylum seekers. That's different. And even them, many of them, if their countries got their act together with our help, they would probably want to return home too. Not everybody wants to come here and stay here. Too many of the anti-immigrant advocates have that mentality. Oh, they're just coming here to... No, they're not. Often they come here because they don't have work availability in their home country, or they're fleeing the violence, and then they're asylum seekers, refugees. So continuing the work shortage headlines. This is from Utah. That if Trump closes the border, there could be severe farm labor shortage. St. Louis area employers face worker shortage. Biggest need in whatever. America's job market. This Bloomberg. America's job market is defying employer labor shortage reports. Care providers face shortage of workers. Manufacturing advocates and legislators push funding for career training because of a coming worker shortage. Cleveland. I'm just reading headlines. Cleveland contractors face worker shortage as construction. There's a shortage. The Bay Area, California has a severe shortage. Dallas has a severe shortage of construction workers. Here's another headline. Federal inaction on foreign worker shortage leaves employers. So stop demonizing people for seeking out economic opportunity. Let's start punishing employers who knowingly are doing this. But let's also get functioning work visa programs in place. Stop it with the demonizing. Stop it with the name calling. Let's have some real discussion on how to help. It ends up helping everybody. When we have a worker shortage, our prices go up dramatically. Are you ready to pay more for everything? And if you tell me yes, you're probably a liar, because the vast majority of Americans buy on price. and price alone. There are certain exceptions to that, of course, but it's this simple. And if Congress bothered caring to fix it, they could do it right now. But you got the Freedom Caucus that hates immigrants and brown people, apparently. And then you have some people who just want open borders. I don't say we need to know who's coming and going. I think that that's a reasonable expectation for a sovereign country, to know who is coming and who is going, and to make sure that certain things aren't happening, that they aren't still doing human sex trafficking, children, etc. I want to know who's coming and going. So there is an actual reasonable purpose of knowing who enters our country. So I'm not for all open borders either. But there is a happy medium that satisfies both sides. And we have to get the extremists to shut their mouths for a minute. And we could actually solve this thing in 5 minutes. What do you think? Please click like, share. Send me your thoughts on this. Comment on social media or email me leftcoastnews@ethanbehrman.com.